Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode with Lorena and I. Today's episode is going to be a bit different than other episodes we've done, mostly because of the theme and what we're talking about. But it's something that you don't really hear people talk about, and somehow it's something that I've known about a lot through experiences of my own, but also somehow it's like a known rule that I've I don't know. It's just always been inside of me. I've always been aware of it. So the idea of this podcast is, this episode is not for you guys to get scared or feel like worried. Like, I'm not scared after having this experience. I'm not worried. I don't feel less empowered. Like, I don't feel anything negative. The contrary. I know my rights. I put my foot down. I know how to stand up to whatever it is that might be confronting me. Now, I'm talking from a spiritual place. I'm not talking about a physical place. And you, as a human being, are here on earth, and you know your rights as a human being, right? You know what you're permitted to do as an individual and what you're not permitted to do. You know what others are permitted to do towards you and not, right? As human beings, as an individual. And I think it's really important for us to learn our spiritual rights as well. And I think it starts with this. And I had this experience, and we're going to be putting in the audio in a bit, but I had this experience, which is one of those experiences where you have an astral, like an astral experience, I guess you would call it, or astral. Yeah, it's an experience. It's an astral experience. So it's like you're sleeping, but you're really not sleeping because your astral body is having that experience. You're aware of it, but in a different way. This is very similar to how I would have experiences when I had dream premonitions. I would go through the whole thing. I would wake up and remember every detail, every feeling, everything. And I would wake up and it's like I didn't sleep because I was really active just on another plane. So this is one of those experiences. And before I'm gonna let you talk, Lorena, maybe you want to put something in here, but before that, I just want to say, guys, we're going to be putting in an audio. This audio is, I woke up, it was very raw, and I sent a WhatsApp message to a really good friend of mine, Christina, and right behind her, I sent an audio to my good friend Julio, and then I sent an audio to Lorena. So these are like the three people that I wanted their input, and I sent them the message because I wanted to share the experience, because it was so like, wow, like I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the experience. It was so dramatic, and I hadn't had such a dramatic one in a very, very, very long time. And it was very raw at the time when I sent the audio. So there's going to be a lot of cursing. I'm sorry, guys.
A lot.
A lot of cursing. But that's me literally living the drama of what just happened. And actually half of that cursing is, well, not more than half of it. Basically all of that cursing actually is something that I did in the dream. That's how I've learned to deal with these energies. And I'm going to talk about that. That doesn't mean that it's the only way to deal with it, but that's how I've learned to deal with these energies. You have to show that you're strong and that they're not going to fool you. You're not going to be put back, or, you can play their game against them. And of course, I'm going to get into this after you guys listen to the audio. You'll understand more. But know that that cursing was actually me in the dream, in the astral experience. I was actually doing it. And then on top of that, I do some cursing, like kind of telling my friend, like, oh my, this just happened. So sorry again. Like, I was really in the middle of it. I was really raw. I was really feeling it. And I was still processing that experience that had been just as real as me walking down the street. So I'm going to let Lorena put in some whatever words before we play that.
Okay, so we don't really, I don't have the name for the podcast yet, but we're going to be talking about spiritual rights and kind of spiritual transparency, kind of understanding our rights as spiritual beings. And when things like this I've never had an experience like that, but Lucy's had many, and I know people that have had many. And the idea here with this episode is to see exactly what she experienced. Maybe that's happened to you before, and it's something that you can message us about. We'd love to hear your stories as well. And the idea here is that we're going to talk about different things that you can do and different rights that you have spiritually and things that will help protect you. So, yeah, like Lucia said, there's a lot of cursing, but
if there's any kids,
look outside
guys,
of the cursing.
Yeah.
Just you can understand what she's saying, through the emotions and everything. It really is really real and raw, and you can really feel what she's, what she went through. So we're going to stick that clip in now, and then we'll come back after that.
So I'm going to try to make it short. This is how it went. I was sleeping, and I felt something come in through my mouth. And I remember hearing myself go, well, something, I'd felt something come in. This was in the dream, but it was one of those situations, my dream premonitions, where it was it was me sleeping, but it was an actual experience. It was happening on another plane, right? Another astral plane or something. Just when I had those dream premonitions, I would be seeing it from another astral plane. But so I remember making that really loud, deep inhale and feeling something pushing in. And then I felt like thunder inside. I felt myself making these noises of that replicated anger, right? I wasn't feeling angry, but I would hear that. And in the beginning I thought, wow, this sounds like thunder. I remember thinking it sounded like thunder. I'm like, wow, it sounds really powerful, and it sounds like thunder. And I remember going, is this, am I harnessing the power of thunder? And my mind in the dream was thinking that. And then I started feeling the anger. And I thought, ooh, this isn't good. This isn't good. This shit is not a wonderful thunderstorm that I love thunderstorms. This shit isn't good. And I right away knew what to do, because I don't know how I always knew to do this. I've always done this ever since I can remember me having any of these experiences, which I had many, many, many years ago. But I went, you do not have the right to be inside of me. I did not give you permission. I command that you come out right now. And then, I didn't feel anything. I said that I command you come right now. You have no right. I'm not giving you my permission. You have nobody's permission. This is my territory. You're going to get out right now. I remember being screaming at it, right? And then I felt, and I felt it all come out. I felt like an inflated balloon, being uninflated, It felt like I was just being emptied out. And then it was gone. And I went, holy shit. I hope there's nothing residual in my body. I hope it doesn't keep anything residual in my body. Because that shit felt pretty bad. And I was starting to wonder if it was going to affect my physical body in some sort of sickness or something. I was worrying about it for a second. And then I finished thinking about that, and I thought that I was awake. So it was actually a dream. The next portion was also a dream, but I thought that I was awake. And so I start kind of peeling myself off the bed after the experience, going, oh my God, that's what the fuck was that? And then I see something standing at the corner of where my feet are, at the corner of the bed. And that's standing next to the window that looks out into the garden and the canal. And I look, and I see, and it's like a shitty version of Kevin Bacon, shorter, whiter, but I don't know, it reminded me a little bit of Kevin Bacon for some reason. And I saw it standing there, and I stand up next to the guy, and I go, who are you? And the person's looking at me. I don't think I'm awake. And I know that this thing that's standing there at the window, I know it has to do with what just happened. I'm totally convinced of that. And I'm who are you? Who are you? And he wouldn't say, and I grab it by its arm, and I start squeezing the chin really hard in the arm. I say, I said, you tell me who the fuck you are. You have to tell me who the fuck you are. Tell me who the fuck you are. I was cursing. And it was saying nothing. I was I fucking command you to fucking talk to me and tell me who you are right now. And he says, I'm infinity. And I literally let go of him, laughing he thinks I'm stupid. He fucking thinks I'm stupid. I start laughing. I'm like, fuck you and your goddamn infinity story. I was cursing him off, girl, like so much. I was like, fuck you, your goddamn infinity story. You're fucking stupid. Who the fuck are you for real? Fuck off. And then it disappeared. I was like, he fucking left. Fuck, I wanted to find out who he was. And I was like, damn it. And my theory is, because I know that if you, and it's funny because we recorded a podcast episode with Lorraine yesterday. We're talking about how, like, if you confront aliens, and we've talked about this before, or any beings like that, you ask them who they really are. If you command it, like, they have an option. They have to tell you who they really are, and the real intentions, right? And I think that since I was pushing it, there was two options. He had to go, the energy had to go, or the energy had to stay and tell me the truth. So it left after it saw that I was pushing. I think that's my theory. Okay, so you guys just heard the audio of me explaining my astral experience to my friend. And the first thing I want to say is I had forgotten about Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, that part is freaking ridiculous.
Right now, I was in the dream, and I remember, like, I didn't remember this, but now that I heard myself explain it again, I'm remembering parts of it that I had forgotten. And I'm like, that's right. I remember looking over at the window, and my mind thought, why is Kevin Bacon, what shitty version of Kevin Bacon in my room right now? What is Kevin Bacon doing here?
Fun fact, I actually saw Kevin Bacon in London.
Oh, yeah?
When I was walking through London, yeah, through Soho. Saw him. It's like, hey, Kevin Bacon. He's like, hey. It was so bizarre. Anyway, back to your astral experience.
When I sent that audio to Julio too, I was like, Kevin Panceta, because bacon in Spanish, so we were laughing about that. I'm like, I had Kevin Panceta in my room last night. But anyways, just funny conversations I had about it. Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to slowly digest that, because I want to make this as understandable as possible. First of all, the first thing I want to make sure that it's clear is that wasn't a dream. That was an actual experience. You guys have to remember that when we sleep, our soul's still busy. And we have different forms of bodies. We have our light body, right? We have our physical body. We have our soul. When our physical body goes to sleep, our light body and our soul are still active. And so I'm not sure where my soul was at the time when this was going on, but I do think that this was more of a Lucia astral body experience. I believe that the soul was kind of aside a little bit, because I'm also, as an individual on Earth, I'm also learning to defend myself. We're learning to protect ourselves, empower ourselves. So sometimes these experiences will come in, not because you're going to be taken over by an entity. Actually, sometimes, and this, you have to remember I have my records open. So I'm actually hearing this for the first time as well while I'm telling you guys this. So what the masters are telling me is sometimes you're going to be put on your path, a sort of test to see if you fight back and re-empower yourself. And this will go for a lot of light beings, actually. So there'll be a lot of individuals who really want to do good or really doing good work and that are prepared for that fight, or have the personality and the experience level and the knowledge to prepare them for that experience. If they have those things, then they'll probably, highly probable, going to have that experience, because it is another form of empowerment. It's another experience that the soul signed up for. So it does seem like the soul kind of stepped aside a little bit to let my spiritual knowledge from this era. Also, I seem to have downloaded information on how to deal with this from other places, because I've carried that since I was a child. I remember I used to have these experiences as a child, and I always knew how to fight back and how to stop it. So before I get to the next part, I want to see if, Lorena, you want to add anything to that.
No, this kind of also reminds me of the episode that we had with Laura Lee when we were talking about what happens when certain entities enter your energy field, and she says you put your boundaries up. You know, you tell them, no, not now. This isn't the time. And I've heard it from different people that also have these kind of experiences with, like, spirits and stuff, right? So this could be when you're wide awake. This isn't in the astral plane. I think the same laws apply in that case too. It feels that way at least.
Yeah, that's a good example because I didn't even remember that actually. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to begin with the digestion. The second thing is when the energy came into me, I actually didn't realize it was bad right away. I remember because if you know me well, you know that I love thunder. Like I love being in my house when there's like a thunderstorm, lightning and thunderstorm, but the shaking of the windows and thunder, I've always loved it. Like being cozy inside with a book and the window shaking with the thunder. I don't know. It's always been a thing I really enjoy. And it doesn't happen here in Holland a lot, actually. But, when that first came in, the feeling of it coming in didn't feel great. I remember thinking, wow, this isn't good. I've had that experience before when something comes in and you know it's not your soul. It's something else because you know what's external from you. The intuition kicks in right away and you say, oh, this isn't me. This isn't any part of me, whether it be my soul. This isn't any of my spiritual support system, right? Like my master, my guides, like I knew right away that was nothing on that line. I knew it was something else. My intuition kicked in, but then I felt the shaking and rumbling. It was like those windows shaking of thunder. That's why I thought thunder. And I innocently was like, oh, thunder, this is cool. Maybe I'm having a thunder experience. Maybe I'm harnessing the power of thunder or something. I don't know. My mind wasn't really fully understanding the whole experience. I was trying to figure it out. But that thunder very, very quickly, I realized turned into a weird noise and then turned into, I started feeling anger. Like a level of anger that that doesn't belong to me. That wasn't me. Right away, I knew that wasn't me. And also, I'm in bed. Why would I get angry all of a sudden, right? And that's when I realized whatever just came in, that's not me, that's not thunder, and that's not good. Yeah. So the next thing I knew to do, and this wasn't a thought process. I just knew right away. As soon as I figured out that it was bad, I knew that I had to get it out. And I know that if it doesn't have your permission to be there, it cannot be there because this is the body that belongs to your soul. And unless you and your soul both are approving this, then it can't be there. And so I obviously am not approving this. The anger came up and I said, nope, not mine, not having it, not okay. And you have to be like, this is the thing that people need to understand. You got to be firm. These are entities that can be very strong. And these are entities that are like, think about like a little kid when you take away chocolate. It's going to, those kids are going to throw themselves on the floor and they're going to like kick their feet.
Like a temper
and scream.
tantrum.
Yeah, exactly. That's how these energies function. They don't go, oh, she said to leave. Okay, goodbye. And then just go without a fight. No, you have to show them that you're the master, that body belongs to you and they cannot be there. They don't have, and the number one thing that you have to say is they do not have your permission, because that's a spiritual law. If there's no permission, they cannot be there. If you don't say that and you say, hey, get out, come on, seriously, like I'm done. Like I don't like this, get out. But you're not stating you do not have my permission, right? So I ended up having to repeat that twice. The first time I said it strongly, and the second time was me saying it really aggressively and really strongly and really putting my foot down and commanding. And that's when the swoosh, like it came out, right? So that's the next thing that you guys need to make sure to remember. If it doesn't have your right, if energy, entity, or being does not have your permission, it does not have the right. This is from a spiritual place. The great thing about that is, us humans here, I could say that somebody can come and try to rob try to take my purse. And I say, no, you don't have the right to take my bag. That's my bag. Well, here, guess what? Here on earth, free will totally and completely exists. And if they decide they're going to take it, even if you told them that they don't have the right, their free will is deciding to take it. The spiritual realm functions differently. If I, as a being, am strong enough and I'm putting my foot down and saying that I'm not permitting it, right? Then I'm not giving them permission to do that. They can't. They have to retrieve, right? I don't know if you want to add to that, Lorena?
No, I think that feels right. Yeah, it's very different on this 3D level. It's of course, each of us have our own free will to decide things, but then other people have their free will. So it mixes a lot, right? So it's not the same. The spiritual realm has very precise rules and regulations and things that need to be respected. And that's there for our protection. So this is where I would like to say, like, I know that there are a lot of people that are scared, right? They're scared, oh, what if something like that happens to me? It's like, there's nothing to fear. Fear is you going into your ego, knowing that you are strong spiritually, and standing up for your rights spiritually are really important.
Yeah. I don't feel fear when I'm in it. I'm like action. I'm like, right. I think if I were to go in bed at night and cuddle up in the blanket and think about it, maybe I'll be like, oh my goodness, how did I deal with it? But I don't know. It's just the moment happens, and it's like, it's not adrenaline because it's from a spiritual level, but it's like your spirit takes action.
Yeah. And even you can think about it with just people that might have this psychic ability, right? And spirits just come into their life. And I know people that have had to put, like even Laura Lee was saying, you have to put up boundaries. Like if you're not available to everybody 24/7, and that's your spiritual right to be like, no, not right now. Do not bother me. Like, these are my office hours. You can contact me then. This is when I work. Right now you can't. So it's the same thing with this. It's like, you have no right to be in my energy. This is my body. Get out. And literally have to say, no, get out.
Yeah. Get out. You don't have my permission. Get out now. I command you. The word command, if I would have to say, jot down these words in your mind to remember, it's, I command you. You're commanding. It's like, that's a really strong spiritual word to utilize when you're dealing with things like this. And you do not have my permission. So permission and command.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, I've never had experiences like this like you have. I know people that have had them. But at the same time, to me, this all kind of circles back to our protection when we're doing anything spiritual. How are we protecting ourselves every day so that we don't get to a position that we're so open? And this really brings me back to Foster's story of when he did ayahuasca, when another spirit piggybacked on him, and it took him, like a year to get that spirit off of him. And he's a person that knows what he's doing. Like, he's had the experience. He's a shaman. He has people he knows that could help him. And when we're so open and when we're vulnerable in certain situations, this is why I would say, like, be careful who you trust and where you put your energy into, because not everybody has good intentions. Not everybody has those, that will and that intention to help and to do good by things. And maybe some people are purposefully trying to hurt people. I can see that because I've seen that, and that's something that I've seen in the past. But other people just might not know, and they might just be doing things in a way where they don't realize that they might be harming people. But this is your responsibility as a spiritual being to take control of your protection and really to figure out hermetically, how are you going to protect yourself? And there's moments where, like, something like what happened to Lucia happened, even though she protects herself a lot. It's just part of why she's here too. I think you're here to also bring awareness to that and for people to realize that it is a possibility, not to scare you or anything. It's just, when there's dark, there's light.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, my throat. So after I commanded it to come out, it felt like I was a balloon. Like a balloon that's inflated and you like let it go shoo. Like I literally felt like that. And I knew right away that I felt my normal Lucia level of no anger, peace, right? I'm not perfection because I'm no Buddha, but I realized that I was back to myself and it came out. I remember my human mind thought process was, wow, this thing, I hope nothing residual sticks in there or stays, like any little residual energy stays in there, because I know that anger or those negative energies can turn into sickness. So that was my first thought process after it came out. But yeah, that's something you deal with after, right? With healing and moving energy, things like that, and grounding.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of shamans are there for too, to help clear out energy and to help you. We might not even know we have something inside of us that's harming us. Like,
yeah.
That could, it's a possibility. It's not maybe the most common thing, not the norm for most people, but we don't know. Maybe we've opened up energetically to certain experiences and we need to clear that out.
Yeah. And then what appeared to be me waking up from that. So what was happening, now I have my records open, I'm understanding it more. What was happening is I actually moved on to the next astral level. So I had been in a deeper, if you want to call it like a deeper sleep or a deeper astral travel plane, I don't know how to explain it exactly or say it, but what they're showing me is like the level that I was having the experience was a deeper one when that happened. And then I came out of it a little bit, but I was still not fully Lucia. It was still my astral body having another experience, just a bit above that. And it was still in the same room. The projection was still the same room and everything. And that's when I see Kevin Bacon. Which, guys, it didn't really fully look like Kevin Bacon. It just looked like a hungrier, whiter, skinny.
Like Kevin Bacon in what movie?
Like Footloose, but like maybe he didn't have dinner for a few nights. Like like he was skinnier and he was whiter. Maybe he didn't get that much like sun. Like I think it was what I think it is it tries. The entity was trying to show itself after the experience because it still wanted to dupe me. It was trying to dupe me the whole time. It was trying to dupe me. I was being tested to see if I was able to pick up first if the energy inside of me. Like, okay, all right, you're intuitive. All right, you got the spiritual stuff. So this was my test, right? We get tests all the time, especially when you level up, spiritually speaking, more tests will come in to see, okay, oh, you're really ready for this level, right? And so it was, okay, intuitively your body, you've got that. You figured that out from like an earth level. I figured that out. I pretty much usually know when something's good and bad for me. So that I passed that test. And the next test was, would you be duped if the entity shows itself as a figure, a non, what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's not aggressive. He's not, someone that wouldn't hurt you. What's the word I'm looking for?
Non-threatening.
Threatening. Yes. Threatening. Okay. If we put a non-threatening entity in front of you, the image of it as a non-threatening being in front of you, will you recognize it for what it really is? Or will you believe it's physical? Because they can shape, their shapes can change. They can change their appearances. Yeah, they can show themselves whatever they want. It could have showed up in the window as a rabbit, for example, right? Anything. And so it showed up, I guess my Lucy, I guess the entity goes, oh, she doesn't think Kevin Bacon's very harmful. Let me show us Kevin Bacon. Which I hadn't seen a movie as his in years. I don't know. Anyways. And so I went, what? And I remember seeing it and confronting it. And the first thing I know is I was not fully sure yet if it was a bad thing or good thing. I thought, okay, I right away picked up the fact that was what was inside of me. I knew it right away. I said, oh, this is what was inside of me. Maybe it wasn't a bad entity because if it was bad, it would have already completely parted my presence. That's what I thought. So I gave it a chance. And I remember standing up out of the bed. So I'm coming out of the bed, heading towards the window. I actually passed behind the entity because it's like on the corner of the window. I'm going to the other corner of the window and I'm standing and I say, well, I start asking, who are you? And the response I get is, I'm infinity. And I remember thinking, well, infinity sounds like a good thing actually for a second. And then I looked at it and I was like, this mother effer. I knew, like, as soon as I was in the process of thinking, oh, infinity sounds like a good thing, actually. And I was thinking that thunder and infinity, maybe those two things match, actually. And then I said, nope. And right away I knew. And I said, I started commanding it and screaming at it, tell me who you are. And that was the next thing that I wanted to digest from the experience. When you're having an astral or spiritual experience, so you're not in your physical body, the law that comes into play is if you are asking someone to show their true self, like for example, one rule is you could ask, what is your intention? You have to show me what your real intention is. Yeah. They have to show you if their intention towards you or for you is good or bad. They can't lie about it. They might avoid showing you, because they don't want you to see that it's a bad entity, but you need to keep pushing till you get a response. They actually cannot lie, especially if you're figuring it out and you keep pushing the question. They are not permitted to lie. They'll be breaking a really, really big universal law, a really big spiritual universal law. And so I asked, who are you? It says infinity. I know it's not true. I'm starting to figure it out. I said, tell me who you really are. I command you. So now I'm back to commanding it to tell me what it really is, right? And so now at this point, after I inserted the word command to it, screaming, and I was screaming at it, so I was getting aggressive with it because I knew that it was not listening to me when I was being nice or being normal, right? So I started getting aggressive with it. I started cursing it. And that's something that I remember, Lorena, when I was a little girl, having these experiences, I would talk like that to them. Like I remember being between 7 and 9 years old, having these experiences, and I would use the same level of curse words as I did in that dream you just heard me in the audio. Like I remember that.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And I remember I would go towards them and attack them, like to get them to stop messing around with me. And so what happened was I pressured it so much, and I used my spiritual rules, my spiritual law. I used it in my favor for it to really tell me what it was. It decided it didn't want me to really know what it was, because once they give out their name, that's a bit of a dangerous game for them, because then you could use that against them. So rarely will they want to use their name. This is this is a big rule. And like, if it's like an entity, not so much an energy, but like an entity. So it had two options. I'm gonna tell Lucia my real name, or I'm gonna head out of here. And so it had no other option but to head out, and boom, it disappeared. But I remember grabbing it by its arm. At one point, I remember grabbing the chin, and I was thinking about grabbing it by its neck and to start squeezing it. Like I was ready to fight. I was ready to fight. So those are your spiritual rights. You have the right to your own body, and if you're not permitting something to take over it or affect it, it can't. You can command it, you're not giving permission. The second thing to remember is that they have to show their true intentions if you are commanding and asking them to show it. If you don't ask for the true intentions, they don't have to show it. They can continue to play a little game with you. As soon as you ask and pressure with that question, if they're not giving it to you right away, they cannot continue to lie to you. They cannot lie. And the other thing is asking their real name and commanding them to tell you who they really are. That will get them to either tell you the truth or to get out.
So how do you make sure that they get out though?
I don't know. I just knew. I don't know that part.
No, but I mean, like, what if they tell you their real name, but they don't get out?
I command you to leave. You don't have my permission to be in this house. No one gave you permission to be here. Lucia, blah, blah, blah. You say your whole name. I don't give you permission to be here. My soul doesn't give you permission to be here. My family doesn't give you permission. Nobody's giving you permission, but you're not permitted to be here. I command you to leave now. And they might not, I find that they don't leave till like the second or third time that you say it. And every time you say it next, you have to say it a little bit stronger, a little bit more forceful. I command you to get out right now. You do not have my permission. Right? I'm in my dreams, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at these energies. Like I'm screaming when I go through these experiences.
You know what I find interesting? How intuitive you were at that moment when you're like, oh, infinity. Oh, that sounds pretty good. And all of a sudden you're like, no, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. How your intuition played a huge part in that. Because you could have just played along with it and not realized it. But it goes to show how your soul, because you're in a different energy field there, right? You're in an astral field.
Yeah.
So how interesting and how important it is to be in tune with your intuition, and how your soul is intuition, right? It is essentially intuition. Yeah. I find that really cool.
Yeah. I think that, I'm going to quote my friend here, Christina, because I sent her that audio. I really liked her input because I wanted her input, and I really liked her input. At one point she said to me, kind of like saying, hey, good job. You figured out what it really was. And some people would have just gone with that story and be like, oh, I think it's my guide, and my guide's name is Infinity. And, you could easily fall for it. But it's not that it looked bad, and it's not that the name was bad. It was that it was like it's hard to say gut because there is no gut there. Like you're an astral form, but it's almost like it's intuition, right? It's like it comes from your gut and you go, whoa, no. This is not good.
This is off.
Yes, yeah. This is off. This information does not go with me. There's something up. And why would you be standing here in my window after you just did that to me? And literally what came to my mind was F you and get the F out. Now, you do not have the right to be here. I do not give you permission. I command you to leave right now.
I think it'd be good to ask, because we both have our Akashic records open, to ask some questions in regards to protection and these spiritual laws. So the first thing that I can think of that kind of comes to mind is, what can we each do? Because obviously this was at a you went to sleep and all of a sudden this happened at an astral kind of level. But is there anything that we can do before we go to sleep? Or because to me, it feels a lot like this stuff can happen more in those moments than when you're kind of like fully awake and conscious, because you are, like you said, your soul's out there playing and it's having its own experiences, and it's a little bit maybe more vulnerable. Your body's more vulnerable, at least. So is there anything that we can do or, take into consideration before, just like protection, right? Before we go into that astral plane?
I mean, there's really simple things that they're showing me, which I do all the time. It's make sure that your house, it's like working out. It's consistent. You don't cleanse your house once a year and then you call it a day. Like, it needs to be a consistent job of removing what doesn't suit you. Not because really bad things come in, in one day, but because the accumulation of fights or depression or like low vibrational energies, that actually creates a perfect environment for those energies to come in. So maybe one day you woke up, and we have that, and I have that as well. Maybe one day you woke up and you said, I'm feeling a little depressed today,
Yeah, you just feel the energy is very low or something.
Yeah. So I would say, make sure that week, maybe the day before or the day, the day after, the day or the next day that you felt that, go cleanse the house a little bit. Like, just try to remove that energy, because if it starts accumulating, then it's like an ambiance. Imagine like you as an individual, when you go to the spa, what kind of room do you want to be in? You want it to smell like flowers. You want the music to be in the background. You want the temperature to be perfect. Yeah.
You feel it though. You feel when something's calm and when something's aligned, and when something isn't, something's off. Something's just not right. You feel it.
Their spa environment is, there was depression over there was a fight over here, there was anger and frustration over there. Oh, look, my spa day is all set for me. Let me go to Lucia's room. It's perfect right now, right? Yeah. So be consistent with it. Don't forget to do it. Don't get lazy about it, because that's what's going to create an environment that's not nice for them. Having high vibrational cleansed rooms is actually not nice for them. They have to step out of themselves a little bit to place themselves there. It's not a comfortable place for them to be. So you want the place to be uncomfortable for them and comfortable for you. I was lucky enough that room has crystals. There was spiritual books on the table, right? And stuff like on a counter, whatever, a table counter, whatever. But that room was packed with high vibrational items as well. And my essential oils, my crystals, my spiritual books, all that stuff. So all those things also assist in raising the vibration of the room. That helps my intuition kick in quicker and be more on point. Imagine, this is what they're giving me now. Imagine the scenario where I had depression in that room. I was upset for crying in that room for a week. I didn't cleanse it. And then I was sleeping in it. And then this entity came in. And then it caught me off guard. I'm not in my perfect environment. I'm not going to easily pick up on what it's doing to me, how it's trying to cheat me, how it's not being true to. I might have not picked it up. But since I was in such a high vibrational environment, because I kept that room to a nice level, I was able to vibrate with that room, and all those things came together almost like a puzzle where I was able to figure it out. So it's almost like use things to your favor.
Yeah, and I think also there is something to be said about getting your house cleansed or cleaning your house, like doing like a ritual, like every month you do it or every few weeks you do it. Like you could even go back to some of the podcast episodes that we did with Christos and Foster, where they talk about a few things that they do and they do for their own bodies. Like I remember it was like the baking soda bath. What was that?
Baking soda was for radiation.
Okay, and then they were talking about the eggs in each corner of the room.
Yeah, and then you threw it at crossroads after a week. I did that.
There's so many. There's so many different things you can do. There's literally people that dedicate their energy and their time to that, to teaching you that and to providing you with that information. So if you feel like the energy in your house is off, you can contact somebody like that, and then they can teach you how to maintain that energy in your house, and they're going to be a little bit more careful, and you just keep up with that. Like I said, you don't want it to, it's not something you do once a year. You're going to keep up with that. You're going to pay attention to that. The same thing as you do, like when you brush your teeth every morning, you need to keep that up to keep things clean and keep things in order. But also I think there's something to be said about, your actual vessel, your body, and taking care of it and keeping that high vibrational with the foods that you're eating, with making sure you're getting enough sleep, because they'll catch you off guard also in that sense when you're low vibrational with not only your emotions, but your actual physical body.
If your physical body is so low vibrational, they can easily come in and you might not even pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's the environment. The body's the perfect environment. Your foods are not vibrationally in tuned with the experience you're trying to have, which is an enlightened experience. And this entity, the environment's perfect. That low vibrational junk coming in, toxins, and yeah, it's perfect. What was the question again? It was what
things we can do to protect ourselves, like before we go into sleep or just in general.
I always place the protective bubble around me before I go to sleep. And I place it around every individual in the house, including the dog and the cat. And then I place a bubble around the house. Like I maybe I overdo it, but better to be safe than sorry. Right?
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a good daily ritual and practice that we can all do. That's easy. It's just your imagination and you're putting intention into that. And it works. It really can work. And just to realize that with any of this stuff that we're mentioning, it's the intention you're putting behind it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and that you're putting your full energy into it, into protecting your house and your energy, into taking care of your body and all of that. It's all part of it too.
They're telling me as well, your mental thoughts. If you have a lot of negative thoughts during the day, I'm not saying that the person, because I was talking about depression, like this is different. You're still a happy person, you're still having a good life, but if you have a lot of negative, it's more negative thoughts than positive. That also is a really good environment for them to begin to attach themselves to you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Which is a different experience, the attaching. You can actually have an entity attaching to you and you won't realize it for a really long time. So that's a whole nother experience. My experience was from an astral place, right? So that's a different experience. But it's just, I think it's those basics. I think you need to start with the basics, and that is your go-to.
Yeah, I would say start with your body, with yourself, and then you move out to the outer, like your room, then your house. Then you're using your hermetic protections. Like Lucia said, look up a book, talk to a shaman. I mean, tons of people share stuff online for free. Like listen to some of the podcasts with Christos and Foster. They share that. I think it was one of the first ones that we had with them. And just do that on a consistent level. And you're going to feel, you're going to feel better. Probably your vibration is going to be higher, first of all. And if these things do happen, because I'm sure, and I have a feeling that more than one of you listening have had experiences like this, maybe not like exactly like Lucia's, but where you felt things like this. And there's no need for you to worry, right? Light will always trump dark. It is not more powerful than light. Dark is not more powerful than light. Like I want to state that because I think a lot of people get really scared, and we've had even people in our courses that are like what happens when you connect to the Akashic Records? Are you safe? Like, yes, you're completely safe. But that being said, you can still connect. You can still protect yourself. You should still protect yourself always, because you're just taking care of your energy and you're not depleting it, and you're not letting anybody else get to that energy either. Especially when you're reading for other people, not just yourself. But there's many different things, and there's books and there's online resources. So look, feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure that we can give you some feedback that would be helpful. But also we'd love to hear your stories. Like if any of you have any of these stories where kind of like what Lucia's been through, we'd love to hear them. So definitely DM us or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. That would be great.
Now, supposedly, since this is a universal law, those that I was naming, if you find yourself having an experience with an alien, apparently the law goes for most of the species, but not all. So I knew this to be a thing for the aliens, but now that I have my records open, they're telling me that it goes for some of the species and not all. But the grand majority of them, if you ever have an abduction experience, just make sure that because it could be a good alien, but it could be a bad alien, just like humans. There's really good in humans and there's really bad. Like not everything's just one thing. So if you're having an abduction experience or you see an alien maybe one day, you go, hey, I commend you to tell me your true intentions. I commend you to tell me what you...
Yeah, like Christos in his episode, he talks all about that, right? Like they need to show themselves. They can't lie to you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing spiritual with the aliens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's what I was talking about because I didn't remember when I sent the audio. I didn't remember what I was talking about because I said... it's funny because we're talking about this on a podcast episode with Lorena about aliens. And I didn't remember, so I guess I was referring to what Christos was saying, that was a spiritual rule that I also knew that implied that you could use, that implies that they can't. They have to be true. They have to show you the truth. But it's funny, no one ever told me this when I was young. And I remember we used to sleep in the same room together. And you'd be sleeping fine. I would have these experiences very often. And somehow I always knew that I could fight back, and I always knew that I could kick them out.
I feel like my energy's so grounded. I don't know if I get to that level like you do. You've had very crazy experiences compared to me. Very crazy. Which I don't think I could handle that. So it's like, you know what I mean? You're not given more than you could handle either, so.
I need to tell in another episode, because this is the dream that I probably don't remember every detail now because it's been so many. I mean, this is probably 15 years ago, maybe. Something like that. Sometimes I think 15 years ago, and then I'll be like, how old am I?
I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not that old. What?
And then I'm like, oh yeah, I am. But it was about maybe 15 years ago. I would have to look back and count, but who cares anyways? It was one of those really intense aviation dreams that I had, where it was one of the times where it was almost like a guide came in and walked me through the whole aviation scenario. And this was the Hudson River. So it was a nice one. This is one where like people lived, right? And I saw, this is before Hudson River crash happened, and I saw it come down. I would have to look it up to see what year it was, to remember how many years back it was. Well, yeah, that's easy. What, was it in 2000?
2000 something.
2000 and something, yeah. So yeah, maybe it was about 15 years ago, maybe. I remember seeing it go down, but I'm not going to tell the whole story now because it's for another episode, but I think it's cool to show how I was shown that and the messages that came with it and the experience that came with it, because it was pretty cool.
So that, I think you were talking about the 2009. Yeah, 2009 Hudson River mid-air collision has occurred later that year. Yes, it's a Hudson River plane crash. And you can see the photo of them like coming off. I think it was like U.S. Airways Flight 1549. Yeah, it was definitely in the 2000s because I remember we were in Uruguay. And you were already doing kind of your aviation stuff, so it was like,
Yeah, I was already flying.
Yeah.
But that's why they caught my attention with that, I think.
It's called Miracle on the Hudson. Like, it was literally a miracle. Yeah. It's crazy.
So 13 years ago? Wait. 2009, 2010... Then 10 more years, 2000...
Don't make me do math, please. Do not make me do math.
It was 2009, right, you said?
2009,
yeah.
So it's
12
2021.
Years. 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years. I had to grab a calculator for that, guys. Jesus Christ.
We didn't say we're mathematicians. We said we were spiritual.
Exactly. Wait, I relied too much on calculators. That's the problem.
Okay, so I was about right. I was thinking between 13 or 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's about right. But that experience was like one of the really good ones because I was able to see that, people not die. And because it was the only time a guide walked me through the aviation accident.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We should do a whole episode about guides and masters. Like we've talked about who they are and how they work, but maybe we can channel further on that. I think that would be pretty cool. And different ways it can interact with us outside of the Akashic Records.
I don't think that was one of my guides, though. I know it, actually.
Yeah, just general guides, you know?
Yeah, it was
like,
a general guide to walk me through that experience. That goes to show you that not every guide is, like, you'll have your guides that are helping you with incarnation. You'll have a guide that's going to assist you with these dream astral projections. You're going to have a guide that's going to help you. Like, not everything is so...
black and white and so defined.
So defined. I think that's a word, yes, defined. All right. This was a bit of an intense experience. Again, I'm sorry for the cursing, guys.
And Kevin Bacon.
That's Lucia, full-blown drama mode.
You do not want to see her again. No, thank you.
No. I mean, if you guys thought I was cursing in that video, you should have heard what I said to Kevin Bacon.
Poor Kevin. He doesn't deserve that, Lucia. No.
I remember saying it to Julio. It was a shitty version of Kevin Bacon.
Oh, gosh. I wonder what he looked like.
Kevin Bacon, skinny, white, and it looks like he needs a little bit extra nutrition. That's what it looks like.
Some more food?
Yeah.
Give him some lasagna or something?
Yeah. He needed some bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to close off the episode now, but just a few things I'm going to mention before we go. We sent out a newsletter. So if you're not on our newsletter, make sure you sign up because we sent out a really cool newsletter with some information. And every month we're trying to send out, offerings that we have and different things that we're doing. So we keep you in the loop with everything that way. So you can just hop on to either our website or onto our Instagram and just click on the link in our profile on our Instagram and you can find the newsletter link there. And in this newsletter, we shared a whole bunch of discount codes for our Udemy courses. So if you're interested in that and you didn't receive the newsletter, send us an email. We can send you the links and we'll share those with you, or we'll just resend you the newsletter. And Lucy's still doing her angelic healing. I've extended my flower essence therapy, like my free flower essence therapy sessions with Akashic Record readings for July, just as kind of like an extension to our 100th episode, because we wanted to celebrate with you guys and send you guys kind of, it's kind of giving back a little bit. And yeah, I think that's it. We're going to have an update soon on our level 2. So you guys better sign up if you do. We have our link on our Instagram profile. So click on there to sign up if that's something you're interested in. And we're going to have, probably in our next episode, I think we're going to have an update on that. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and we'll connect with you guys next week. Love you guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.